My name is Zephyrin, and I'm a 65-year-old widow who's been living alone in the same cozy little suburban house in Ohio for the past 10 years, since my husband Orion passed away from a heart attack. I spend my days tending to my garden, knitting scarves for the grandchildren I hope to have someday, and reminiscing about the good times with my late sister Thalassa, who tragically died in a car accident 30 years ago when she was just 25. Thalassa was my best friend, the one who always knew how to make me laugh, and her loss left a hole in my heart that never quite healed. Welcome to Stories of Auntie Maya. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. That evening, we gathered for my son Quillon's 35th birthday dinner at my house, with the table set just right, candles flickering, and the smell of roast chicken filling the air. Quillon arrived a bit late, his arm around his new wife Vespera, whom I'd only heard about over the phone but never met in person. As they stepped through the door, I turned to greet them with a warm smile, but then I froze right there in the living room, my hand halfway extended for a hug. Vespera looked exactly like Thalassa, those same hazel eyes that sparkled with a hint of mischief, the curly brown hair cascading down her shoulders, and even the small dimple on her left cheek that appeared when she smiled back at me. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest, and old memories rushed in like a flood. Thalassa laughing at our childhood picnics, her voice singing lullabies to Quillon when he was little. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it had to be some weird coincidence, maybe just my mind playing tricks after all these years of grief. "Hi, Mom," Quillon said, pulling me into a quick hug and snapping me out of my daze. "This is Vespera. We've been dying for you two to meet." Vespera extended her hand, her smile polite but warm. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Zephyrin. Quillon's told me all about you and your famous apple pie." I managed to clasp her hand, feeling a chill run up my arm as I noticed how soft her skin was, just like Thalassa's. "Welcome to the family, dear. Come on in. Dinner's almost ready." We moved to the dining room, and as we sat down, I poured everyone some wine to steady my nerves. The conversation flowed easily at first, with Quillon talking about his job at the accounting firm and how they met at a local coffee shop 6 months ago. Then Vespera mentioned something that made my stomach twist. I grew up in that little town called Willow Creek, you know, the one with the old mill by the river, she said casually while passing the salad bowl. Willow Creek, that was where Thalassa had lived right before her accident, the place she'd moved to after some family troubles we never fully discussed. I stared at her, my fork hovering over my plate, wondering if there could be more to this than just a passing resemblance. "Are you okay, Mom?" Quillon asked, noticing my silence. "You look a little pale." I forced a laugh, setting my fork down. "Oh, it's nothing, just the wine going to my head a bit fast tonight." "Tell me more about Willow Creek, Vespera. Did you have family there?" She hesitated for a split second, then shrugged. "Not really. I was adopted young and bounced around a bit. But it's a charming place, full of history." The rest of the dinner passed in a blur, with me nodding along but barely hearing their words, my mind racing with questions. As they left that night, waving from the driveway, I stood at the door, watching their car disappear down the street. Coincidence, I kept telling myself. But deep down, a nagging doubt had taken root, making me wonder if fate had just dropped a bombshell into my quiet life. The days after that birthday dinner dragged on like molasses in winter, and I found myself staring at old photo albums more than usual, flipping through pictures of Thalassa and me as kids, her smile so vibrant it jumped off the page. Every time I closed my eyes, Vespera's face overlapped with my sister's, those hazel eyes haunting me during my morning coffee or while I weeded the garden. I tried to push it aside, telling myself people look alike all the time. But then little things started piling up, making it harder to ignore. One afternoon, about a week later, Quillon and Vespera came over for lunch, and as we sat on the porch with iced tea, Vespera started humming a tune while she helped set the table. It was that old lullaby Thalassa used to sing to Quillon when he was little. "Hush, little darling. Don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird." My glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the wooden floor, and I stared at her, my mouth dry as sandpaper. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Zephyrine," Vespera said, rushing over with a broom from the kitchen. "Let me clean that up. Are you all right? You seem a bit jumpy today." I nodded, forcing a smile as I picked up the bigger shards. "Just clumsy, dear. That song you were humming, where did you learn it? It's an old family favorite." She paused, sweeping the glass into a pile, her eyes flicking away for a moment. "Oh, just something from my childhood, I think. My adoptive mom used to sing it, or maybe I heard it on TV. Why do you ask?" Quilon chuckled from his chair, scrolling through his phone. "Mom, you're acting like it's some big mystery. Lots of people know that lullaby. Relax, will you?" But it wasn't just the song. As we ate the sandwiches I'd made, I noticed a thin scar on Vespera's right wrist, peeking out from under her sleeve. The same wrist Thalassa had scarred when she fell off her bike at 12 when she reached for the mustard. It was jagged, about 2 inches long, exactly like the one Thalassa got when she fell off her bike at 12, scraping her arm on a fence post during one of our summer adventures. My fork clattered against the plate, and I had to excuse myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face to steady my breathing. When I came back, they were chatting about weekend plans, and I joined in, but my mind was racing. "Vespera, tell me more about your family," I said casually, buttering a roll. "You mentioned being adopted. Do you know anything about your birth parents? Any pictures or stories?" She shifted in her seat, taking a slow sip of tea. "Not much, really. My records were sealed, and my adoptive parents didn't share details. It's all a bit of a blank slate. Why the sudden interest?" Quilon shot me a look, his brow furrowing. "Mom, what's with the 20 questions? You're making her uncomfortable." "She's family now, let it go." I backed off, mumbling an apology, but inside, frustration boiled up like a storm. Over the next couple of weeks, it got worse. Every visit or phone call amplified the unease. Vespera dodged any talk about her past, changing the subject to the weather or Quilon's work, and Quilon kept brushing me off, saying I was letting grief cloud my judgment. "Mom, Thalassa's been gone for 30 years, he said one evening on the phone. Vespera just has a common look. "You're overthinking this because you're lonely. Maybe you should join that book club I told you about." I hung up feeling stuck, like I was wading through mud, my doubts trapping me in place. But then, during their next visit for Sunday dinner, Vespera left her purse on the couch while she helped in the kitchen. I glanced inside when no one was looking, just a quick peek, and saw a hairbrush with a few strands caught in it. My heart pounded as an idea formed. Maybe science could settle this once and for all. My breath caught. I pinched 2 or 3 strands from the bristles and slid them into a folded tissue. Then I tucked the tissue into a small zip-top bag from the junk drawer, quick, quiet, and shaking like I'd done something wrong. Later that night after they left, I sat at my computer, fingers trembling as I ordered a DNA test kit online, the kind that checks ancestry and relatives. I told myself it was silly, that it would prove me wrong and let me move on. But deep down, frustration turned to resolve. I needed answers, even if it meant going behind their backs. As I hit purchase, I whispered to myself, "Please, let this be nothing," but a part of me knew it might be everything. It had been about 3 weeks since I ordered that DNA kit, and every day felt like an eternity as I checked my mailbox obsessively, my hands shaking a little each time I flipped through the bills and junk mail. I kept telling myself it was probably nothing, just my overactive imagination from missing Thalassa too much. But the knot in my stomach wouldn't loosen. Finally, one rainy afternoon, I pulled out a plain white envelope from the testing company, my heart thumping as I carried it inside and sat at the kitchen table, staring at it like it might bite me. I took a deep breath, sliced open the seal with a butter knife, and unfolded the report, my eyes scanning the words and charts that looked like some kind of scientific puzzle. At first, it was all percentages and ancestry breakdowns. But then I got to the relative matches section, and there it was in black and white. Vespera listed as a close family match, estimated as niece, which meant she'd tested before. Her DNA was already in their database. My vision blurred for a second, and I read it again, the words hitting me like a freight train. Thalassa must have had a secret child before she died, one she gave up for adoption without telling anyone. I felt the bile rise in my throat, and I barely made it to the sink before I vomited, heaving until there was nothing left, tears streaming down my face as the realization sank in. Quilon had married his own cousin without knowing it. Wiping my mouth with a trembling hand, I staggered back to the table, clutching the report like it was poison. How could this be real? Thalassa was only 25 when she died, and she'd never mentioned a pregnancy, not even in our closest sisterly talks. But the DNA didn't lie. It showed a direct maternal link through me as the aunt. My mind raced to Quilon, picturing him building a life with Vespera, and the thought of them together now twisted my gut all over again. I wanted to call him right then, scream the truth into the phone, but something held me back. I needed more proof, something solid before I blew up our family. That evening, after calming myself with a strong cup of tea, I decided to dig deeper instead of confronting anyone. I drove to the local library in Willow Creek, the same town Vespera mentioned, and signed up for their old records database. My fingers flying over the keyboard as the librarian showed me how to access adoption archives from the late 1980s and early 1990s. The rain pattered against the windows as I scrolled through digitized files, my eyes aching from the screen glare, until I found public traces pointing to a private adoption agency operating in Willow Creek around. That time, no names, just enough to follow the paper trail. It didn't name names outright, but the description matched. A baby girl born to a young woman in Willow Creek, placed through a private agency to protect privacy. As I printed out the pages, a chill ran down my spine when I spotted a familiar signature on one of the witness forms, my late husband Orion's. He'd been a notary back then, handling family legal stuff, and there it was, his stamp and scroll, like he'd been in on it. Why would he sign off on Thalassa's adoption without telling me? I remembered how protective he was of our family's reputation, especially after Thalassa's wild teenage years with boyfriends and parties. Maybe he helped cover up a pregnancy to avoid scandal in our small community. The pieces started clicking, but it only fueled my rage and confusion. I repressed the urge to storm over to Quilon's house, instead pocketing the printouts and heading home. Back in my living room, with the lamps casting long shadows, I rummaged through the attic boxes I'd avoided for years, dust flying as I pulled out old letters from Thalassa. There were stacks tied with faded ribbons, her curly handwriting filling the pages with stories from Willow Creek. One letter from 1989 caught my eye. Dear Zeph, things are complicated here. Met someone special, but it ended badly. Don't worry, Orion's helping sort it out. Love you always. An affair, that's what it hinted at, vague but damning, like she'd been involved with someone who got her pregnant. And Orion stepped in to hush it up. I sat on the floor, letters scattered around me, my breath coming in short bursts as suspense built inside. I couldn't tell Quilon yet, not without airtight evidence, but this was accelerating everything. The next day, I called my old friend Mabel, who worked at the county clerk's office years ago, hoping she could fill in gaps without raising alarms. Zephyrine, honey, it's been ages, she said when she picked up, her voice warm over the line. What brings you calling on a Tuesday? I kept it casual at first, chatting about the weather and her grandkids, then eased into it. Mabel, remember my sister Thalassa? I'm sorting old family papers and wondered if you recall any adoption stuff from around 1990 in Willow Creek. Anything involving our family? There was a pause and I could hear her sipping coffee. Adoptions were hush-hush back then, but yeah, I vaguely remember Orion coming in once, looking stressed. Said it was for a relative's kid, didn't specify. Why? Something wrong? My pulse quickened, but I played it cool. Just curious, tying up loose ends. Thanks, Mabel. Let's catch up soon. Hanging up, I felt the tension coil tighter. Mabel's words confirmed Orion's involvement, but I repressed blurting it out to anyone. Instead, I started compiling a folder. The DNA report, library printouts, Thalassa's letters, locking it in my desk drawer. Suspense gnawed at me during dinner alone, every creak in the house making me jump. But I knew rushing would backfire. Vespera and Quilon invited me over for the weekend, and I accepted with a forced smile over the phone, planning to observe more closely without tipping my hand. Can't wait to see you, Mom, Quilon said cheerfully. Vespera's making her special lasagna. Sounds wonderful, dear, I replied, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I'll bring dessert. As I hung up, I stared at the folder, the urge to confront them bubbling up, but I pushed it down hard. This was just the beginning. I needed to accelerate my search quietly, gather every scrap before the truth exploded. Little did I know, the deeper secrets were waiting to unravel everything I thought I knew about my own marriage and family. That weekend visit to Quilon and Vespera's house felt like walking into a lion's den, but I kept my face neutral, carrying a homemade apple pie as my excuse for dropping by early. The air smelled of fresh coffee when I arrived, and Vespera greeted me at the door with her usual polite smile. But I noticed how her eyes lingered a second too long, like she was sizing me up. "Zephyrine, you're here already. Come in, the lasagna's still in the oven," she said, stepping aside as I handed her the pie. "Thanks, dear. I thought I'd help set the table," I replied, forcing warmth into my voice while my mind raced through the DNA report and those old letters, locked in my desk at home. Quilon was in the living room, fiddling with the TV remote, and he looked up with a grin. "Mom, perfect timing. We're watching that new show you like. Sit down, relax." I nodded and sat on the couch, but my eyes darted around the room, spotting little details I'd missed before. A framed photo on the mantel of Vespera as a child, her curly hair just like Thalassa's at that age. As Vespera went back to the kitchen, I pulled out my phone under the pretense of checking emails. But really, I was logging into the online genealogy site linked to the DNA kit. I'd created an account the night before, searching for any forums or user posts connected to our family tree results. My fingers trembled slightly as I typed in keywords like Willow Creek Adoption 1990 and our last name, hitting enter while Quilon chatted about work. The search loaded quickly, and there they were, old forum posts from a user named Lost Branch 2, dated 5 years ago, discussing tracking down biological relatives in Ohio. One post jumped out. "Found leads on biomom from Willow Creek, tragic accident, but family has inheritance tied to old property. Surname matches, planning to connect subtly." My breath caught. The username's bio listed a handle that matched the same nickname Vespera used. On her public social media, she knew she'd been hunting us for the money, our modest house and savings Orion left behind. Quilon noticed my silence and frowned. "Mom, you okay? You've been staring at that phone like it's got bad news." I slipped it back into my purse, heart pounding. "Just spam emails, nothing important." "How's the job going, son? Any big clients?" He launched into a story about a new account, but Vespera called from the kitchen. "Dinner's ready in 5. Quilon, can you grab the plates?" As he got up, I seized the moment, glancing at Vespera's purse slung over a chair nearby. It was unzipped, a journal peeking out with papers stuffed inside. I leaned over casually, pretending to adjust my shoe, and glimpsed handwritten notes. Background check faked, docs from agency altered. Inheritance estimate, house worth $300K plus savings. Play the long game. My blood boiled, but I repressed the urge to snatch it, instead snapping a quick photo with my phone before straightening up. Vespera came back in, wiping her hands on a towel, and her gaze flicked to me, sharper than before. "Zephyrine, you've seemed a bit distant lately. Is everything all right? Quilon mentioned you're still grieving Thalassa more these days." Her words hit like a probe, testing me, and I met her eyes steadily. "Oh, it's just age, dear. Memories creep up. Tell me, that locket you're wearing, it's lovely. Where did you get it?" She touched the silver chain around her neck, the one I'd spotted last visit, shaped like a heart with intricate engravings. It was my adoptive mother's. "Why?" I smiled thinly. "It reminds me of one Thalassa had, same style, with a hidden inscription inside. Mind if I see?" Vespera hesitated, her fingers tightening on the locket. "It's stuck sometimes, old clasp. Maybe later." Quilon returned with the plates, oblivious. "What's this about jewelry? Mom, you're full of questions today." We moved to the table, the lasagna steaming as Vespera served portions, but tension hung in the air like smoke. During dinner, she steered the conversation to safe topics, weather, recipes, but I watched her closely, noticing how she avoided eye contact when Quilon mentioned our family home. "That old place has been in the family forever," he said, forking a bite. "Dad always said it'd go to us kids." Vespera nodded eagerly. "It's charming. I love the history." Her enthusiasm rang false to me now, especially after those forum posts. As she brushed past the table, the locket knocked lightly against the edge and sprang open for a split second. I caught the engraving inside. To my little star, T. My stomach dropped. That wasn't coincidence. That was Thalassa. Then leaned over and carefully pulled out the journal for a closer look, flipping to a page with more notes. Confirmed bioconnection via ancestry site. Approach Quillan at coffee shop. Accidental meet cute. Secure marriage for claim. I photographed it fast, my hands steady despite the rage building inside, then slipped it back just as she returned. Something wrong, Zephyrine? Vespera asked, her voice a touch cooler as she sat down. I shook my head. Just admiring your bag. Designer. She laughed it off, but her eyes narrowed slightly. After dinner, as we cleared plates, she pulled Quillan aside in the kitchen, their voices low. I lingered by the door, hearing snippets. Your mom's acting jealous, like she doesn't want us happy. Quillan sighed. She's just worried, Vespera. Give her time. But her manipulation was clear now, turning him against me to isolate any suspicions. I repressed my anger, smiling as I joined them. This was lovely, dears. I should head home, getting tired. Quillan hugged me goodbye. Drive safe, Mom. Love you. Vespera waved from the porch, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. Driving home, my mind whirled with the new evidence, the forum posts proving she targeted us, the journal notes on faking documents, and that locket, which I now suspected held Thalassa's inscription, maybe to my little star, a phrase my sister used in her letters. I stopped at a coffee shop on the way, pulling up the genealogy site again to screenshot those posts before they could be deleted. Back home, I added it all to my folder, the tension coiling like a spring. Vespera knew her biological ties and had schemed for our inheritance. But why the locket? It proved she'd dug deep, perhaps even stolen it from Thalassa's things somehow. I repressed calling Quillan that night, knowing one wrong move could tip her off. By the next morning, the agency's reply was brief and firm. We can't confirm or deny any inquiries by email. If you have a legal reason, contact us through counsel. But the message included a staff name and a direct phone extension, one more thread to pull. Details sealed, but matches your description. Another piece of leverage. Tense moments piled up. Vesperas texted me later. Hope you're feeling better. Let's do lunch soon. But I replied politely, buying time. I was tracking her now, gathering irrefutable proof without alerting the prey. The repression built, my nights sleepless, but determination surged. This woman had infiltrated my family for greed, and I wouldn't let her destroy us. Little twists kept coming, like finding an old photo in Thalassa's diary, showing the locket around her neck, confirming it was hers. How did Vespera get it? That question fueled me, escalating my resolve to expose her before she could tighten her grip. The days after that weekend visit blurred into a haze of quiet fury, and I spent most of my time in the living room, staring at the growing folder of evidence on my coffee table. The genealogy forum screenshots showing Vespera's scheming posts, the sneaky photos of her journal with those damning notes about faking documents, and the adoption agency's refusal to confirm anything by email, plus the staff contact Harold identified to speak only through counsel. I even managed to get a close-up shot of that locket during the visit by zooming in with my phone. Camera when she wasn't looking. And sure enough, popping it open in the photo revealed the inscription, to my little star, just like in Thalassa's letters. It was Thalassa's locket, no doubt stolen or bought from some estate sale where our family items ended up after the accident. My hands shook as I printed everything out, organizing it into plastic sleeves like some amateur detective, but I knew I needed professional help before making a move. I called up an old family friend, Harold, who ran a small law office downtown, and set up a meeting for the next morning. Driving there, the rain splattered against my windshield, matching the storm inside me, but I kept my grip tight on the wheel, repressing the urge to turn around and confront Vespera right then. Harold's office was cozy, with leather chairs and stacks of files, and he greeted me with a firm handshake. Zephyrine, it's been too long. What's this about? You sounded urgent on the phone. I sat down across from him, pulling out the folder and spreading the papers on his desk. Harold, look at this. My son's wife, Vespera, she's my niece, Thalassa's secret daughter. The DNA proves it, and she's been plotting for our inheritance. See these forum posts? She knew all along and targeted Quilon. He adjusted his glasses, scanning the DNA report first, then the forum's screenshots and journal photos. This is heavy stuff. Consanguinity laws in Ohio don't allow marriage between people closer than second cousins. So if Vespera is your niece, that makes her Quilon's first cousin, and the marriage can be challenged on that basis alone. The fraud angle only strengthens it. You might have grounds for annulment, and if she's faked documents, that's potential fraud charges. I leaned forward, my voice low. What about the locket? It's Thalassa's, with the inscription. Proves she dug into our past. Harold nodded slowly, flipping through the adoption email. That's solid leverage. The agency confirmation acts like a witness statement. But Zephyrin, tread carefully. If you confront without airtight prep, she could spin it against you, claim harassment or something. Let me make copies of all this and draft a preliminary letter outlining the issues. I felt a spark of hope as he photocopied everything, but repression clamped down hard. I couldn't tell Quilon yet, not until the lawyer gave the green light. How long before we can act? I asked, gathering my originals. A week or two to verify the legals. In the meantime, don't engage. Keep gathering if you can, but stay quiet. Driving home, I mailed Harold a duplicate set by certified mail, then stopped at the bank to lock the originals in a safe deposit box, which I'd found in the attic with more entries about her complicated situation in 1989, hinting at the affair and pregnancy. I sealed them in a safety deposit box at the bank, just in case Vespera got wind of anything. That evening, as I sipped tea in my kitchen, my phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Lila. Zephyrin, heard you're not feeling well. Senile, call me. My stomach dropped. Senile? I dialed Lila right away and she picked up on the first ring. Zeph, thank goodness. Vespera called earlier, said you're acting erratic, forgetting things, maybe need a checkup. She's worried about you living alone. I gripped the phone tighter, anger surging, but I kept my tone even. Lila, that's nonsense. I'm fine. What exactly did she say? She mentioned you grilling her about family history, acting paranoid about resemblances. Said Quilon's concerned too. Maybe we should all talk. It was a knife twist, Vespera spreading rumors to discredit me, painting me as a doddering old woman losing her mind. I repressed, snapping back, instead saying calmly, appreciate the concern, but it's misplaced. Let's catch up soon. But it didn't stop there. Over the next few days, more calls came in from my nephew, an aunt, even a neighbor who'd heard through the grapevine. Vespera was working the family network, whispering about my decline, probably to isolate me if I spoke up. The repression built like pressure in a kettle, my nights filled with pacing the house. Folder in hand, but I held back, focusing on securing more leverage. I scanned Thalassa's diary pages into my computer, emailing them to Harold for safekeeping. Then came the reversal, hitting like a slap. Quilon called on Friday evening, his voice hesitant. Mum, we need to talk. Can you come over tomorrow? The whole family, Lila, Uncle Ted, everyone. It's an intervention of sorts. My heart sank. Intervention for what? He sighed. Vespera's worried, and honestly, so am I. You've been distant, asking weird questions. She thinks grief's catching up, maybe early dementia. We just want to help. I wanted to scream about the evidence, but repression won. I couldn't tip my hand yet. Fine, I'll be there. But Quilon, trust me, I'm sharper than ever. The next day, I walked into their living room, the air thick with tension. About a dozen relatives seated in a circle like some therapy session. Vespera sat beside Quilon, her face a mask of concern, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. Uncle Ted started, clearing his throat. Zephyrin, we're here because we love you. Vespera told us about the odd behavior, fixating on resemblances, sneaking around. Maybe it's time for a doctor's visit. I sat straight, folder tucked in my bag but untouched. This is ridiculous. I'm not senile. Vespera, why spread these lies? She teared up instantly, hand on Quilon's arm. I'm not lying. You've been cold to me, accusing me of things. Quilon, tell her. Quilon looked at me, conflicted but siding with her. Mom, she's right. You've changed since we got married. Maybe it's jealousy or grief, but we need to address it. We've even looked into assisted living options. The words stung like acid, my own son turning against me in front of everyone, humiliated in my own family. Laughter bubbled from Aunt Marie. "Zeph, remember when you forgot your keys last month? It's happening to all of us." I felt heat rise in my cheeks, the room spinning with their pitying stares. But I repressed, exploding, biting my tongue. "I appreciate the concern, but you're wrong. I'll see a doctor to prove it." Vespera smiled softly. "That's all we want, Zephyrine, for your health." The meeting dragged on with more advice, each word a nail in my repression, fueling the tension until I could barely breathe. As I left, Quillon hugged me awkwardly. "Love you, Mom. This is for the best." Driving home, tears blurred my vision, but the reversal ignited something fierce. I wouldn't let her silence me. Back in my house, I called Harold immediately. "It's gotten worse. She's turned the family against me, calling me senile." He listened, then said firmly, "That's defamation territory. Use this time. Get a clean bill of health from a doctor. That'll counter her rumors. I'll rush the legal review." I hung up, heading straight to my desk to make more copies of everything, including a fresh print of the DNA report. Then I dug out Thalassa's diary again, photographing every relevant page as extra leverage, storing them on a USB drive hidden in my jewelry box. The repression peaked, my body tense like a coiled spring, but I held back, plotting my next move. Vespera thought she could bury me with whispers, but this humiliation only sharpened my resolve. She'd rue the day she underestimated me. A few days later, I visited my doctor, getting a full checkup and a letter stating I was mentally sound, emailing it to Harold. Meanwhile, Vespera texted sweetly. "How are you feeling? Let's have tea soon." I replied politely. "Soon, dear." But inside, the tension repressed into cold calculation. With the lawyer's warnings about invalid marriage and fraud, plus my irrefutable evidence secured, I was building an unbreakable case. The reversal hurt, but it bought me time to turn the tables without her suspecting. Little did she know, the hunter was about to become the attacker. 2 weeks after that humiliating intervention, I sat in my living room with Harold the lawyer on speakerphone, going over the final details of our plan. The doctor's letter confirming my sharp mind was in my folder. Along with all the other evidence I'd stacked up like bricks in a wall, the DNA report, the genealogy screenshots, the journal photos, that locket inscription, and Harold's documentation of the agency contact, who will only address the matter through counsel. Harold's voice came through clear and steady. "Zephyrine, everything checks out. The marriage could be annulled on grounds of fraud since she concealed the relation and faked docs. We've got defamation from those senility rumors, too. Call the meeting, present it all, and if she pushes back, we will preserve the evidence and refer the matter to law enforcement." I nodded to myself, feeling a surge of strength I hadn't felt in months, like a fire igniting in my chest after all that repression. "Thanks, Harold. I'll do it today. No more waiting." Hanging up, I texted Quillon and Vespera, plus the key family members who'd been at the intervention: Lila, Uncle Ted, Aunt Marie, and a few others. "Family meeting at my house tonight, 7 p.m. Important news, no excuses." Quillon replied quickly, "Mom, what's this about? We're busy." I shot back, "Come or regret it. Trust me." Vespera added a thumbs-up emoji, but I could almost feel her unease through the screen. As the afternoon wore on, I set up the dining room like a courtroom, printing extra copies of everything and laying them out in neat stacks on the table, covered with a cloth for the big reveal. I even hooked up my laptop to the TV, ready to project the forum posts and journal photos if needed. My heart pounded, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was power, the kind that comes from knowing you're right and armed to the teeth. I baked some cookies to keep the mood casual at first, the smell filling the house as people started arriving. Uncle Ted showed up first, patting my shoulder. "Zeph, hope this isn't about the intervention. We meant well." I smiled tightly, pouring him coffee. "You'll see. Just wait." Lila came next, hugging me. "You okay? Vespera said you might be upset." I hugged back, whispering, "Stay open-minded tonight." Aunt Marie and the others trickled in, chatting nervously about the weather, until Quillon and Vespera arrived last, her arm linked through his like she owned him. Vespera looked polished as ever, that locket gleaming around her neck. but her eyes darted around the room. "Zephyrin, this is Sutton. Everything all right?" "Take a seat, everyone," I said, my voice firm as I gestured to the chairs around the table. They all settled in, Quillon next to me, Vespera across from him, the relatives filling the sides. I stood at the head, taking a deep breath, feeling the explosive energy build. "Thanks for coming. This isn't easy, but it's time for the truth. For months, I've been piecing together something that affects all of us, especially Quillon." I pulled the cloth off the stacks, revealing the folders. Gasps rippled through the room as I passed out copies of the DNA report first. Quillon grabbed his, scanning it. "Mom, what is this? DNA results. Vespera. Niece? What the hell?" Vespera's face paled, but she forced a laugh. "This is ridiculous. Zephyrin, are you serious? Some mail-order test proves nothing." I locked eyes with her, my voice rising strong. "It proves everything. Vespera, you're Thalassa's daughter, my sister's secret child, given up for adoption in 1990. The DNA matches you as my niece, making you Quillon's cousin. You knew it all along and hid it to get at our family inheritance." I flipped on the TV, projecting the genealogy forum posts. "See these? Your username, Lost Branch 92. Talking about tracking our family for the property and savings. You researched us, targeted Quillon at that coffee shop." The room erupted in murmurs. Lila leaned forward. "Zeph, is this real? Thalassa had a kid." "Yes," I said, handing out the documents. "Look, Orion's name in a notary ledger entry tied to the agency appointment that month. He covered it up to protect our reputation after Thalassa's affair. But Vespera knew her biomom, dug up the locket, Thalassa's own, with the inscription, 'To my little star.' How'd you get it, Vespera? Stole it from old family storage?" Vespera stood up, her chair scraping back. "This is insane. Quillon, she's making this up. That intervention was right. She's lost it." Quillon stared at the screen, his face hardening. "Vespera, is this your forum account? The email matches yours. And the locket, you said it was your adoptive mom's," she stammered, glancing around for support. "It's a coincidence. I didn't know anything. Zephyrin, you're jealous because I make Quillon happy." I slammed down the journal photos next. "Coincidence? Your notes here, faked background docs, secure marriage for claim. You planned this for the house, worth $300K and our savings. And the adoption agency contact Harold reached documented that you made inquiries in 2018 and will only discuss details through counsel." I turned to the family. "She spread rumors I was senile to silence me, turned you all against me at that intervention. But here's my doctor's letter. I'm sound as ever. This is fraud, pure and simple." Uncle Ted whistled low. "Damn, Zeph, this looks solid." Aunt Marie shook her head. "Vespera, say something. Is this true?" Vespera crumpled back into her chair, tears welling up, but they looked fake to me now. "Fine. Yes, I was adopted, and I found out about Thalassa a few years back. Grew up poor, bounced between homes. When I learned about the family inheritance, I saw a chance for security, but I love Quillon. It started as a plan, but it became real." Quillon shoved his chair back, standing up with fury in his eyes. "Love? You lied about everything. We're cousins, Vespera. That's sick. And you manipulated my mom, called her senile. We're done." He looked at me, his voice breaking. "Mom, I'm sorry. I should have listened." The family turned on her then, voices overlapping. "Lila, how could you deceive us like that?" Uncle Ted, "This is grounds for legal action." Vespera tried to defend herself, pointing at me. "She's the one sneaking around, taking photos of my journal. That's invasion of privacy." I countered hard, feeling empowered. "Privacy? You infiltrated our family for money. Harold's on the line. Listen." I hit redial on speaker. Harold's voice boomed. "Vespera, based on this evidence, we're filing for annulment tomorrow. Fraudulent concealment of relation. Document forgery exposes you to serious legal consequences. Leave now, or we will file reports and pursue civil claims." Vespera grabbed her purse, face twisted in defeat. "You win, old woman, but you'll regret this." She stormed out, slamming the door, her humiliated exit echoing through the house. Quillon sank back down, head in hands. "Mom, what now?" I placed a hand on his shoulder, the explosion settling into satisfaction. We protect what's ours. Harold will handle the annulment and lock down the assets. No claim for her. Family, thanks for being here. This ends the deception tonight. The relatives nodded, some hugging me, others murmuring apologies for doubting me. As they filed out, promising support, I felt the strength flow through me. I'd attacked and won, countering every lie with truth. Quillon stayed behind, and we talked late into the night, him outraged but grateful. I can't believe I fell for it, he said. You were in love, I replied softly. But now we move forward. With Vespera gone and threats of legal action hanging over her, I finally breathed easy, the attacker mode giving way to a hard-earned victory. The days after that explosive family meeting felt like the calm after a hurricane. With the air finally clear and the weight lifting off my shoulders bit by bit, I woke up the next morning to a quiet house, sunlight streaming through the curtains, and for the first time in months I didn't feel that knot of dread in my stomach. Quillon had stayed over that night, crashing on the couch after we talked until the wee hours, him apologizing over and over for not seeing through Vespera's lies sooner. I made us breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, nothing fancy. And as we sat at the kitchen table, he looked at me with red-rimmed eyes, pushing his plate around. Mom, I still can't wrap my head around it, Quillon said, his voice rough from lack of sleep. How did I miss all the signs? The way she dodged questions about her past, that locket, I thought it was just quirky. But cousins? And scheming for the house and savings? I feel like a fool. I reached across the table, patting his hand gently, my own fingers steady now. You weren't a fool, son. You were in love, or what you thought was love. She played on that, manipulated you like she tried with the whole family. But we're past it now. Harold's filing the annulment papers today, and with the fraud evidence, the faked documents from her journal photos, those forum posts proving she targeted us, he says it'll go through quick. No marriage means no claim on our assets. He nodded slowly, taking a sip of coffee. Yeah, and the lawsuit for emotional distress? That's on her too. Spreading those senility rumors, turning everyone against you, that was low. Uncle Ted called me this morning, said he's fully on board, even offered to be a witness if needed. Lila too, she's furious about being duped. I smiled faintly, buttering my toast as memories of the intervention flashed back. The pitying looks, the humiliation, but they didn't sting as much anymore. Good. Let them help. Vespera's facing real consequences now. Harold mentioned possible consequences for document forgery, and the agency contact he reached documented that Vespera made inquiries in 2018 and would only address details through counsel. Combined with the DNA match, she has very little room to deny intent. I heard from Mabel yesterday. She remembered more details about Orion's involvement back in 1990, willing to swear to it if it comes to court. Quillon leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. Dad covering up Thalassa's pregnancy to protect the family name. That part hurts too. Why didn't he tell you? An affair, a secret baby. It's like rewriting our whole history. I set my fork down, meeting his eyes steadily. Your father was a good man, but he had his flaws. Pride, mostly. He thought he was shielding us from scandal in Willow Creek. Thalassa was young, 25 when she died in that accident, and that letter from 1989 hinted at the mess she was in. But secrets like that fester. That's why we're doing this right out in the open now. He stood up, coming around to hug me from behind. I'm grateful you pushed through, Mom. If you hadn't done that DNA test, collected the hair sample, dug up those old letters and records, I'd still be married to my own cousin, blindsided by her greed. You saved me from a lifetime of deception. I patted his arm, feeling a warmth spread through me. We saved each other, Quillon. Now let's focus on healing. I booked us counseling sessions starting next week, family therapist in town. She specializes in betrayal and grief. It'll help us rebuild, talk about Thalassa, Orion, all of it. He pulled back, nodding with a small smile. Sounds good. And the inheritance. Harold said we're donating part to that adoption charity in Thalassa's name. Yes, I replied, standing to clear the plates. The house stays with us. Savings too. No 300K windfall for Vespera. But giving some to support adoptees, helping them find healthy paths, it feels right. Honors Thalassa's memory without the shadows. A week later, Harold called with updates. and I put him on speaker so Quilon could hear while we sorted through old attic boxes, finally organizing the mess of letters and diaries. "Zephyrine, good news," Harold said, his tone brisk. "Annulment is moving forward, because Ohio does not allow marriage between people closer than second cousins, and the fraud evidence strengthens our case. Your hearing and paperwork are underway." Vespera's lawyer reached out, trying to settle the lawsuit. "She's offering to drop any claims and pay a small sum for emotional distress if we don't press charges on the forgery." Quilon glanced at me, raising an eyebrow. "What do you think, Mom? Take the deal?" I thought for a moment, folding one of Thalassa's old scarves carefully. "Tell them yes, Harold, but only if she signs a no-contact agreement and apologizes in writing. No more rumors, no showing up. She's lost her claim to everything. That's punishment enough." Harold chuckled. "Smart, I'll draft it. Oh, and the family? They've all backed off the senility nonsense. Your doctor's letter shut that down. You're clear." Hanging up, Quilon helped me carry a box downstairs. "Feels like closure, huh? Vespera humiliated and out us stronger." I nodded, setting the box by the door for donation. "It does. And look at this, Thalassa's diary. Reading it now, without the secrets looming, it's like reconnecting with her. She would have wanted us to move on, build better bonds." Over the next month, things settled into a peaceful rhythm. Quilon came over more often, helping in the garden, sharing dinners where we laughed about old times instead of dwelling on the pain. The counseling helped too. Our first session, the therapist listened as I recounted the shock of the DNA results, vomiting in the sink from the realization. And Quilon opened up about his outrage during the confrontation. "It exploded everything," he told her. "But Mom's strength pulled us through." She nodded, jotting notes. "That's resilience. Betrayal cuts deep, but facing it together heals. Homework, share one positive memory each week." We did, starting with stories of Thalassa, her lullaby, that scar from the bike fall. Her dimpled smile now echoed in photos without the eerie twist. One evening, as we sat on the porch with iced tea, Quilon turned to me. "Mom, I'm thinking of dating again someday, but carefully. Maybe even do a DNA check up front. Lesson learned." I laughed softly, the sound free and light. "Smart boy, but take your time. We're good now. You, me, the family mended. No more secrets haunting us." He clinked his glass against mine. To stronger bonds. As the sun set, painting the sky in soft oranges, I felt truly freed, the calm washing over me like a gentle wave. Vespera was gone, facing her lawsuits and losses, while we embraced the lessons. Truth over deception, family over greed. Donating to the charity Sealed It, a check sent in Thalassa's name, helping others avoid our pains. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours again, built on honesty and love. My dear, if you're watching this and feel your heart growing heavy, then perhaps you are just like me, someone who has endured so much just to keep a home. Peaceful. Someone who stayed silent just so others could feel comfortable. I don't know your story, but if there was ever a time you thought, "It's okay, I can take a little more," then please leave me a comment with just one sentence. I've endured. I cannot promise to change everything for you, but I want you to know this. Suffering in silence is not your duty, and staying quiet for too long will make you lose yourself. If today you aren't strong enough to say no, that's okay. Just don't blame yourself. And if this story feels like it's speaking for your heart, please subscribe and stay here with me, so that every day I can remind you that the person who sacrifices the most also deserves to be treated with kindness. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love, with all my love and respect.